And thanks to everyone for being here. We hope that we're gonna have fun today. Right, John?
Absolutely. And you gotta be careful with those nice words. Pretty soon they're gonna start going to our head, and we don't want that. All right, so we are going to be delivering our presentation through Nearpod, and I am going to present my screen in just a moment. But if you have used Nearpod, you're going to be very familiar. If you have not, it is a simultaneous presentation software that we started using last year when everything was remote. So if you just click on the link and join, type in your name, and we will get started shortly.
And please let us know if you have any issues getting into the Nearpod. It should be quick and easy. So if it's giving you trouble, just let us know. John's checking the chat for us, and he's my tech savior. So he can fix hopefully any issues we're having. Okay, it looks like almost everybody's in. Again, at any point, if you get kicked out or if somebody joins us, you just click that link and it should let you right back in. John, do you want to say anything about Nearpod before we get started?
This was a tool that we found and discovered when we were bashing our heads against the wall trying to improve student engagement. It is not perfect. No educational software that I've ever encountered is, but it is a solution. And it's something that we still use occasionally on and off, maybe once or twice a week currently with students, especially when we're digging into a rigorous text or you want them manipulating math or science. They have some games, they have some 3D models in there, and yeah, it's just a tool. Be selective when you're using it.
And you'll get to experience it today. So here we go. Welcome to Glows, Grows, and Goal Setting for Co-Teachers. I'm Allyson Caudill. I am the ESL teacher on the Ready, Set, CoTeach team. We've been teaching together now for 5 years. Like Kelly said, unfortunately, 2/3 of us are here today. Ashley has a brand new newborn, and she honestly tried. She really was trying to come. And then this morning she texted and she goes, guys, she's colicky and I've been up all night. So she really apologizes. She's really missing out, but she sends her regards to everyone. John, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is John Cox. I am actually a New York native myself, moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina back in 2012, 2013. And if you've been in education that long, you remember around that time, education jobs were very hard to come by. I fell in love with it down here in Raleigh, met Allyson and Ashley, as well as a great educational team down here. And I am now staying. We've been co-teaching now for 5 years, and they have been the best 5 years of my educational career. And we're just going to share a little bit of what makes collaborating, and not just co-teaching, but collaborating in any educational team, the best part of our job.
And here are the lovely pictures of us. Following this presentation, so we're always open, you guys, to collaborating. We are huge collaborators. Reach out to us anytime you want. We're at Ready, Set, CoTeach on Twitter or readysetcoteach@gmail.com. And the website is readysetcoteach.com. So if there's anything you ever need or questions, or we share a resource and you're like, oh, I wish I really had that, please feel free to reach out. Everything we share is free. Everything we share is open to everyone, because we think that is part of education, is sharing. Okay, so the first thing that's going to pop up on your screen in Nearpod is going to ask you to introduce yourself. So if you could type in your name, your current role, and what you're currently watching on Netflix. So it might be Allyson, ESL co-teacher, and Inventing Anna. If you haven't seen it, that is one impressive young lady. Impressive meaning genius. Criminal, but genius. Yes, Love is Blind, whoever wrote that.
Outer Banks is good. Outer Banks is great. I know that one. I did not know Love is Blind, and I did not know Inventing Anna or The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I haven't watched any of that, but oh, and Stranger Things. Yes, who is not waiting for Stranger Things right now?
Melinda, Yellowstone. I just started it. Don't tell me. I just started it, but everybody's been talking about it. Johnny, you writing these down? Because we have a whole recommendation now, whole recommendation list.
I'm actually wondering if, Chris, I see that you saw Gotham. I'm wondering if you've seen the new Batman movie yet. I'm itching to go see it myself. Ooh, and Reacher. My dad and I love Reacher.
Awesome. So we're going to give you guys about 30 seconds to get those in. We just kind of wanted to see our audience, see where you guys are coming from. It looks like a lot of you are ENL teachers. I love, Erin, that you are physical education and ENL co-teacher. That's fascinating to me, and I would love to talk to you about that more. I want to pick your brain.
All right, so we're leading off with a great quote here by Richard Carlson. And the quote is, reflection is one of the most powerful and most underused yet powerful tools for success. Sorry, a little bit of a head cold today. So it's not just enough for us to plan and teach. It's not enough for us to collaboratively co-plan, co-teach, or plan together with your learning community and deliver that instruction in your silo. We learn from reflecting on that experience. These are the general benefits of reflection on any teaching practice. First of all, it leads educators to act deliberately and intentionally rather than randomly and reactively. I know when I don't get ahead on my planning and I'm not reflecting on what's going well or what's going wrong, I'm having to, at the drop of a hat in a lesson, throw everything out the window and reactively deliver instruction to what my kids are showing me. And it's not a great place to be in. Sometimes those teachable moments are wonderful, but you don't want to always have those teachable moments. Blends learning through experience with theoretical and technical learning to form new knowledge constructions and new behaviors or insights. And lastly, builds confidence in teaching abilities, which leads to comfort employing new strategies. That is a powerful one for me because that whole building confidence in the instruction that I'm delivering was a huge transformative part of my teaching career.
Okay, so when we go to the next slide, it's going to be a collaborate board where you're going to answer these two questions for us. So the first is a glow. So we want you to think about your collaborative partnership, whether it's co-teaching, whether you're going to PLTs or PLCs and working with colleagues. What has been one big success that you've had collaboratively? And then a grow, which would be what's one thing that you hope to improve about your collaborative partnership or your collaboration? And just a quick plug about how we use this with kids is we obviously put the questions at the top with usually some sort of visual and then some sentence frames. So there are sentence frames there for you. Obviously, you do not have to use those. We are very confident in your ability to create a complete sentence on your own. But that's just an example of how we use this with our students. Right, Jennifer? Okay, so full disclosure, Jennifer, I just found out about it when I was creating the presentation for today, when we were working on it. I saw that it was an option to create columns in the Collaborate board, and I was like, and I played with it. And so you guys are actually our guinea pigs. It's the first time we're using it. So thanks for noticing.
Honestly, I've fallen in love with the ability for students and you, our participants, to comment on each other's posts and create that little bit of a discussion virtually without, we've done that a few times in the classroom without any words being spoken in the classroom. They're all commenting and adding on to each other's initial posts.
So with that being said, once you put yours in, if you find one that you agree with or you would like to comment on, please feel free to do so. Our kids always like to hit the little heart as well, which just means like that I like this. Yes, time, guys. Time is always the big one, right? Time is the most precious resource any educator has, and we never have enough of it. Something to better co-reflect. Maybe we have something for you. Together. I love that, Alyssa. Add the reflection piece. Yeah, definitely struggle to find time for sure. More time to reflect. Okay.
I'm seeing time actually on both sides, both a glow and a grow. And it's interesting because I feel in all of our presentations that we've done, time has almost exclusively been a grow, wishing for more time. So shout out to all of you who have that time and have that resource. That is great. I wish, honestly, even in our classrooms that we're, Alice and I are here in a classroom right now, that we had more time. That would be a grow for us, to find more time.
Thank you guys for sharing these. These are amazing to see, especially all the glows. I love celebrating successes. It's one of my favorite things. So thank you for sharing these with us. Can you not see the responses, Dee? You can't see them? You can't see everybody else's? You should be able to in your Nearpod. It should pop up in yours, not on the Zoom.
Maybe my internet is not working that well. I don't know.
And I will say this in full transparency, one of the hiccups that we found with Nearpod is when we have been delivering it to larger groups or larger groups of students, it tends to slow down a bit when the participant size kind of goes over 30. So it's a hang up, and unfortunately, that's why we always share our screen, so that way, even if you're not able to participate directly, you can follow along watching our screen.
All right, we're going to keep going, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're actually going to save that. That's another cool thing about Nearpod is you can always go back to the Nearpod you did, and you can see all the student responses. And so we'll share that out with everybody later. Random question. Oh, that's not for us. I think that's for Kelly. Okay, moving on. Okay, so there are lots of things that go under this big umbrella of co-reflection, right? And these are just the ones that we came up with off the top of our heads. What we would love for you all to do is on the next slide, it's going to create it into a draw it slide, which means you're going to be able to type or draw on the actual slide. What we would love for you to do, and you don't have to make them raindrops, you can if you want, if you're creative and artsy, but if you'll just add anything else you can think of that might fall under the umbrella of co-reflection. And we're going to give you about a minute to do so. And John's going to hit next. And as soon as he does, it'll change into a draw it slide so you guys can put in your responses. If you hit the T, it will be a text box you can type in. If you use the pen, You can use your finger or the mouse to write or draw, or you can put in a picture, I think. What else can you think of that might go under this big umbrella of co-reflection? While you guys are doing that, I just will let you know one of the ways we use the draw it slides. They're great for math specifically, I think, but also they're really good for language dives. If you're diving into a juicy sentence or something like that, you can say, okay, everybody in orange, I want you to circle the noun and then talk about the noun, or I want you to find the subject of the sentence and circle it in green or whatever. And the draw it's are really cool because in real time, you can see the kids participating. Love that, Lauren. Identifying strengths and areas of improvement. Absolutely, that would go under co-reflection. Yes, student engagement, right? That could go under co-reflection for sure. Modifying according to data. Love that one.
Honestly, Allyson, in this where you say reteaching when needed, that is such a crucial conversation. How are we going to go about the reteaching, and how are we going to handle that with our pacing? How are we going to reteach but also not slow down pacing? Because we always need to be ready for the end of the year test.
All right, we're going to give you about 30 more seconds, and then when you're finished, just hit that submit button. Oh, I love that. Somebody put thinking about the questions we ask. I love that. So John and I actually have had many discussions about thick and thin questions and cues. So that's an excellent one. Yes, the co-teaching models, right? Good. Feedback. Awesome. Awesome. Good job, you guys. So these are all, thank you for participating. Thank you for putting your thoughts in. So this big umbrella of co-reflection can have so many things underneath it, right? And we've actually already done a couple of these, right? Which of these did we just do on our collaborate board? Can someone type it in the chat? Did we celebrate success? Did we share thinking? Did we do data dive? Did we collaborative goal set? What did we just do on that collaborate board? Yeah, we shared thinking. Good, Melinda. And we also celebrated successes, right? With our glows, we shared our successes. And so those are just a couple of things that we just did quickly and easily on that collaborate board. Okay. All right, so moving on. So this slide will be nothing new to most of you, right? You're looking at this and going, yep. But here's the big takeaway. So we're constantly already reflecting just internally, individually as teachers, but how can we reflect collectively? What are the implications of my self-reflection or John's self-reflection or your self-reflection on the partnership? So basically which parts of your self-reflection might be beneficial to share, right? And then based on those individual reflections, what do we need to address as a team? So informal reflection is wonderful because it's usually quick and easy, right? You don't have to figure out a time to do it. It can just kind of happen. The majority of reflection is actually informal, right? And that's okay. But we like to think of informal reflection as kind of collecting, right? Collecting our thoughts, thinking about what happened, and it being super ongoing and surface level, kind of like, these are some things I noticed. And then we like to think of when we move into formal reflection as addressing that collection of thoughts. So something we do is keep a running list of like, what from our informal reflections do we need to move into the formal reflection plate? Because you might reflect on some things and it's simple things that you take care of yourself or that is specifically about you. But what do you need to then take and remove onto the formal reflection plate? Maybe informal reflections you need more time for, or you want to dive deeper into, or you think would be is best, right? You're doing a little individual reflection and then moving that to collective reflection, doing a little informal reflection and then moving it to formal reflection. Which of these are you guys, just type in the chat, which of these are you guys most comfortable with and most common for you to employ? Informal, yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Formal, okay, Jennifer. I'm seeing a lot of informal. Collective informal, yeah, Erin. We do a lot of collective informal reflection, for sure. I mean, it's constantly ongoing informal reflections. Good.
I mean, something as simple as just Allyson and I making eye contact across the classroom, and that look of exasperation on one of our faces. That's informal reflection right there. It may not be fully fleshed out conversations, but it is definitely informal.
Awesome. So now the question is, we seem to be all comfortable or at least very used to individual and informal reflections, right? And when you think of moving them to a formal or collective reflection, a lot of times we start to panic in our brain, like, oh my gosh, that's more time. We need a structure. There are so many things that have to go into that, right? But breathe, because it can be quick and easy and it still can be very effective. And we're going to talk about that.
Okay, so one idea that we have for a quick and easy check-in is a Google form. Allyson actually developed this during virtual learning, but can be used in really any co-teaching or collaborating context. A co-teacher check-in can just be done simply, easily, following a handful of simple questions. How are you? Which norm is your glow this week? Which norm is your grow this week? Ideas you have to share, questions you have, support that you need. This is something that can be employed weekly, monthly, or even quarterly. We, as a co-teaching team, have transitions as we've worked together longer and gotten used to each other. We've gone from a weekly check-in into a more formalized monthly or our big quarterly check-ins with how we feel we're doing with our norms and our objectives and things from there.
And there's a link to a blog post on that slide, which you guys will all get all of these slides and be able to keep them. So, but just so you know, there's a link at the bottom to the blog post that kind of explains the idea behind these quick check-ins with Google Forms, if you're interested.
And if you actually click on the Google form, it will bring you to the sharing of the Google form. And if you do click on that, you're interested in keeping that and the sharing doesn't work, please just type in the chat and I can adjust that. And you know, I'll actually just put the link to that document in the chat.
Okay, so I'm sure you're all familiar with EL education. Am I correct? Am I correct that New York uses EL education in Long Island, or am I wrong?
We use it.
Wonderful. So this should look very familiar to you. I'm sure you're familiar with the EL education notices and wonders protocol. So, sorry, my screen's being weird. Okay. So we took it and we adapted it for co-teachers or collaborators, right? Even if you're not co-teaching. So what we do is we actually have a big notices and wonders T-chart where we keep ongoing notices and wonders in a shared space, right? So at any point during a lesson when we're co-teaching or after a lesson or literally anytime, we can jot thoughts down on sticky notes and just stick them on the T-chart, right? So this can be a great catalyst for intentional and focused conversation during your co-planning and co-reflection times. Because if you go into those co-planning times or the times that you do have to co-reflect and you have nothing as a basis to start off of, you're going to sit there and be like, okay, what do we need to reflect on? Well, you know, this is a great way to keep it. And then there might be sticky notes where you're like, oh, we already addressed that. And you can just pull them off, right? And it's very, it's ongoing, but it's a structure. Adding self-reflections to the cheat chart is effective, it's informal, and it keeps us from losing anything that we noticed or wondered in real time. Because I know myself, I've got a million things going on in my brain at all times, like most of you. And if I don't jot it down, I'm not going to remember it. Then we take it to the next level by tackling each of the sticky notes collaboratively later during a formal co-reflection or co-planning time. So it's a great way to transfer that notices and wonders protocol from EL into your reflections. Just an idea.
Okay. All right. So the notices and wonders protocol for co-reflection actually falls really nicely into Tan's reflection formula. And I'm going to pause for a quick plug to Tan. If you have not followed him yet on Twitter, his Twitter handle's right here at Tan K. And what I'm about to share is actually linked. If you click that source link or you follow the link that I put in the chats, you can read more about what I'm about to say, and it'll probably come across a bit better than what I am about to say. But the first step to following this reflection formula is to positively notice something. Then ask an open-ended question to get your co-teacher's perspective on it. Your positive noticing invites your colleagues into the conversation and makes them more willing to reflect. We have all worked with those colleagues that are a bit reticent to invite that reflecting and to share. And teaching can sometimes be a very territorial profession, and this is a great way to open someone up. That might sound like this. Ms. Baker, I noticed the students really responded to the mind mapping activity. What did you notice about it? This is very similar to the notices and wonders protocol that we use, minus the T-chart. Okay, and so for here we have just a simple co-reflection guide or co-reflection just kind of a framework that we've used in the past, making sure that you're taking time for celebrations, adaptations, needs, what actionable steps can we take to meet those needs. Make sure that you're setting a time and prepare for this meeting independently. Don't show up and then take the time. Hang on, I wanted to reflect on this, but let me go through this data really quick. Have your notices and your wonders about that data that you've informally collected. Respect your partner's time and do that prep work in advance. Give each partner an uninterrupted airtime to speak. I struggle sometimes with that because I want to address what someone said, but it's important to let someone express their thoughts. Engage in an open dialogue where there is that time for a response. It is not just one person dominating that conversation. And always, always, always leave your co-reflection time with a plan, your actionable steps. What are we going to do from here?
And we're going to give you a structure for that. So it'll make it easy for you guys to do that or take what we have. And of course, always anything we have, please take it and adjust it for your own situation or make it better, because better together, right?
So I'll go for it.
Okay, so really quickly, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about video co-reflection. So this can be a formal reflection, but it's easy to do because you can do it individually and then come together afterwards. So in, oh gosh, I'm trying to think, in 2017, I think, Andrea Hunningsfeld actually, she's, I don't have to tell you guys, of all people, you know how wonderful she is, and Maria Dove, and so Andrea had come to visit our district and she was unable to come to our classroom live. And so she said, hey, can you videotape you guys co-teaching? And it was the first time we'd ever been asked to do that. And so we did. And we then had the opportunity to watch it with a panel that was Andrea, our ESL district leadership, ourselves, a bunch of people. And it was a little nerve-wracking, not gonna lie, but the insightful conversations and reflections that came from that experience were far beyond anything we expected. And since then, we have continued to video ourselves and used video-based reflection. So we wanted to drop a plug for that. Because especially as co-teachers, you know, it's really beneficial to step back and look at your interactions and the students' reactions and the students' engagement from a different perspective. It's one of the most powerful tools we have ever experienced. And so then we kind of were like, okay, how can we make this a little more structured? And so we looked into some effective video analysis. And this is still in its really early stages, y'all. So like for us with our research and kind of looking into it. So hopefully we're gonna have some more in-depth studies here coming through. But for now, we had the before, during, and after viewing. So the first thing and the something that is very helpful to do is to make sure that you establish a goal for viewing. So like when John and I videotape, we might say, okay, we're going to videotape this lesson and we're going to focus for this one, we're going to focus on student engagement. We want to look at how engaged are the kids, when are they disengaged, you know, things like that. Then we watch the video separately, right? We watch it separately. We jot down our notes, our notices, our wonders, our anything we're thinking as we go through. And that can be pretty, I mean, you can have a structure for that, but it can also be really informal where you're just kind of jotting notes. And then we share, obviously, we share our thinking, we share our notices, wonders, and then we try to make sure, and this is the hardest part, at least for me, to focus on important evidence, right? Look at what's super relevant to learning and try to avoid reactive details. So if you're like me, I watch myself and I'm like, oh God, do I sound like that? Oh my good, why did I do that? Or whatever, right? You're kind of focused on yourself and you're focused on like, you know, those types of things. And you might have some sort of emotional reaction to seeing yourself on video. And you try to, it's really hard, but once you can take all of that out of it, all of that feelings, all of those reactive things, and focus truly on the important evidence for whatever your goal for viewing was, it's going to be way more effective and way more focused. And then obviously after viewing, share your notes, reflect, discuss, and then plan your next steps in with whatever structure that you're going to use. I'm hopefully working on developing some actual documents to use with video-based reflection for co-teachers, but we're also full-time teachers, so we're a little slow to get out new things sometimes, so bear with us. But there's a link at the bottom of the slide that says more information on video reflections, and it's a link to a presentation that talks about video selfies and kind of that idea of the step-by-step and how to do video reflections without, you know, the reactive piece of it, if that makes any sense.
I have one quick plug for it is that you're teaching anyway, so it doesn't take all that extra effort to set up a camera. And there you go, the bulk of the work is done. All right, so once you have begun the reflection, what are you going to do from here? You're going to start collaboratively goal setting. So let's talk about it. What deciding and setting goals needs to be done together. And honestly, we know what everyone is thinking, and what I have always felt in meetings is that, oh God, this is going to take a lot of time. Let's move on. Let's start actually planning and getting things done. But goals create a sense of purpose and provides a direction for the partnership to continue. In a million directions, so having a solid goal or two helps maintain focus and prioritize what's important. We also find ourselves with increased drive and motivation because we are honestly more than a little competitive, mostly just within ourselves. Allyson wanted to take that last out, like, okay, fine, that's all right. I'll just bite my tongue over here. That's cool, but that's what works well for us. So we find goal setting to be a powerful tool for us. And if we agree on a goal, then there's that sense of accountability that you do not want to deviate from that goal. Recently, this was kind of pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, and again, post-pandemic, our big goal has been increasing student discourse within our classrooms. We found that in our video reflections that we dominated the talk time. Just a gross amount. 70% of all discussion was teacher discussion and 30% was student discussion. And we need to shift that completely. And that has just been our goal, and our reflections really have cycled back through. What is the level of student discourse as we've continued?
Okay, so on this slide, you're seeing just some examples of our own actual past collaborative goals. So these are goals we've had in the past. What do you guys notice or wonder about these goals? You can type in the chat. Mm-hmm. Okay, Christina, good point. They're SMART goals, right? Definitely. Maureen, yep, there's short and long-term goals on here. Good. Measurable, yep. And we all know that, right? That's kind of like teaching 101. Make sure when you're setting goals, they're SMART goals, they're measurable, things like that. They're formally written out. So Jennifer, that's a really good point. One of the things that we have found as co-teachers, and again, this is just us, but what we have found as co-teachers is we can talk about goals all day long. If we do not write them down or record them somewhere, right, where we can see them all the time or we can revisit them, they fall by the wayside. So it truly does help to make sure that they're recorded somewhere. Achievable, good. Have a clear path. You like the key. Oh, thanks. So yeah, the key, let's talk about that. So the yellow, that's the codes we use. So when we show you our document, that's coming up here in a second, there's actually going to be more codes we've added to this since 2018. Playing backwards. Yep, absolutely. And also one thing that I noticed about this, that when we were putting together this presentation, was like, guys, we have no language goals in here. That's a problem. Like for that's a problem. And so that's something we noticed and we addressed. And there's no problem with that. Like we're learning as we go. We've grown since 2018, thank goodness. And so, that's something I noticed. So we're going to go to the next slide and I'm going to show you this document. Okay, so this is how we actually came up with these goals. And we're going to send you the link to this. You might be able to click on it. Can you guys click on it in Nearpod? You might be able to. But if not, John's going to put it in the chat for you. So this is how we got there. It is a one sheet where we write out our goal, we code what type of goal it is, we put our why, which can be really simple, and then our timeline, and then our action plan. John, will you go to the next slide? Because I think there's a completed one. Okay, excellent. So here is a completed one, for example, okay? This particular completed one is coded as a collaborative goal. So this is a collaborative goal. This is specifically about our collaborative partnership and how we want a goal for making that better. And this is kind of the completed version that we came up with. And this is one of our actual ones that we've used.
Yeah, I believe this is one you developed with Ashley. And since 2018, we've added in a couple other goal setting types. The key at the top, there's now collaborative, student performance, personal, professional practice, or as I love to refer to it as PP, co-teaching, professional development, or other. Sometimes you just have a goal that doesn't truly fit into any of those other categories, but it's still important that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. And then we might put in links like you see here of like, you know, where are we going to review the active listening techniques? Well, there's the link. It's all right there. And we can come back and just check the boxes when we revisit after the quarter, right? And please don't get the idea that you have to have 5 goals for every year. Start small, have one goal, decide what goal do we want to start with, and do that. We honestly now, we have one goal that we do until we have satisfactorily reached that goal, and then we do another one. So please do not have it in your brain like, oh my gosh, I need a collaborative and a student performance and a this. That is not the case. They're just there as options.
All right, so on this slide, I know that this is a little overwhelming, but we have 3 minutes left, so I wanted to flood you with all of the resources. These are some co-reflection surveys that we have. This is a lot, and we do not recommend that you take all of these or use all of these. Find 1 or 2 that speak to you, that you find effective, or you can do what we do. Find 1 or 2 and then edit and change it and make it your own. These are just some frameworks, some co-teaching reflections, some parity reflections, and an assessment reflection that we felt were powerful, were good quality, and we just wanted to provide the resources to you.
And you can do these separately and then share, or you could do them together and discuss. Some of these are from Huntingsfield and Dove. A couple of them are. I think the collaborative planning with the 4 R's is, and then some are ours. So feel free, like I said, you'll have access to all of these links. We've already sent Kelly a hyperdoc and all of these slides for you all to have. Okay, so we kind of like cut off the end pretty quickly, but what we wanted to give you were all of the resources for goal setting and for Glows and Grows. Are there any burning questions that you guys might have for us in the last like 2 minutes? And feel free to keep exploring those resources. John, will you drop the link for the hyperdoc?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and feel free to ask the question in the chat, or go ahead and unmute.
Yeah.
Have one for us.
Well, Melinda, when do you sleep? So honestly, we know, like when we came into this presentation, we were like, okay, we don't want to overwhelm you guys with like all of these things. But if you just do one, like, and commit to it, you know, you can do a 15-minute solid deep reflection and come out with actionable steps. We promise. Yes, for sure, Angela. Anybody else? Anything we didn't like hit, or we kind of want you to go beyond this presentation and kind of explore the links yourself and see what you can use and what you can't, or what you want to adapt for yourself. So it's kind of an exploratory learning post session. Cassandra, we have in this building 24 languages represented and about 186 English learners or multilingual learners. Can you put the links in the chat? Sure, absolutely.
And the links will also be shared on the Padlet. So if you miss them here, you can
that is the link to the
there.
hyperdoc. Please let me know if that link does not work. It took me an embarrassingly long time to find that document, that shareable link, but there it is. How many in our classroom? It depends on which. Now that we're in 3rd grade, we've actually changed things up. It used to be Ashley and Allison taught 1st grade, Allison and I taught 2nd grade, and she just taught one class with each grade level. Now we teach 2 classes. Allison works with me with science. She works with Ashley with reading, and we teach all 43 kids between the 2 classes. Each homeroom is, 22 and 21. Sometimes we get more, sometimes we get less, and we tend to be the biggest class sizes at our school.
how many L's? We're about, let me think. I think right now we're at about, in Ashley's room, I think there's 42% L's in that room. And in John's, it's a little less than that, but it's pretty close. So we're at a time